Good day. Whoa, sorry, my hand got in that on the Zoom replay. So sorry about that. Hey, hi all. I know it's just a little early. I wanted to jump on so y'all could get settled in and just check in and see how you guys did with your code hanger experiment. One of the things that people had told me is that it wasn't moving, and I want your grip, you to check in with your grip and notice that you want a feather touch. And keep playing with this, because I've actually been noticing, like playing with it, like, am I telling the truth? Is this my truth? And your body knows, right? So this is kind of like a pendulum, because your body does know the answers, as does your energy field. So cool. Welcome, welcome, my savvy travelers. I am so excited to see you today as we jump into experiment number 4, the Abracadabra Principle. Whatever you focus on expands. And we're getting into the stuff that you guys really, really want, and I do too. So this is so fun. I can manipulate the external influences in my life as sure as I can make a baby cry by grinning. Augustine Burroughs, American author. The premise. When I first heard my thoughts could bring material goods into my life, I did what any intelligent, thinking person would do. I scoffed, said Pam Grout in E Squared. Experiment 1, we're on page 67. But I decided to give it a try. What could it hurt to conduct a secret experiment? Andrea, my teacher, said to write down 3 things I wanted. That's all. I didn't have to zap them out of thin air. I didn't have to work out a budget. I just had to make a list. What the heck? I want a bicycle, a computer, and a piano. Within 2 weeks, I was the proud owner of a beautiful red mountain bike and an IBM PC Junior. The piano took a little longer. But some years ago, my friend Wendy, who was moving to Maryland, called and told me that if I'd come get it, I could have her beautiful cherrywood Kimball. My daughter, forced to take piano lessons, has been cursing me ever since. Yes, in this chapter, you've all been waiting for. The chapter is now on how to manifest material things. Woo! It's a spiritual principle that attracts would-be believers like 15-year-old males to Megan Fox. And at some point in your life, you've read Think and Grow Rich, The Magic of Believing, The Power of Positive Thinking, or some combination thereof. As old and crotchety as these books might be, there's a reason they're still in print. They speak a universal truth. If you know what you want, you can have it. Okay. So how do you get what you want? My friend Chris, okay, most of my friends think this principle employs magic, some mysterious juju that might work for some people, but not others. But it's not any more complicated than walking from Biloxi, Mississippi to New Orleans once you have the right map. Let's say Biloxi is what you have now. A beat up 94 Escort, a job you can't stand, and a lot of weekends watching DVDs by yourself. New Orleans, where you really want to be, is a shiny new Jaguar, a high-paying job that utilizes and appreciates your greatest strengths, and weekends watching movies with an astoundingly hot specimen of the opposite sex. So how do you get there? You start focusing on New Orleans. You forget that Biloxi and your beat-up 94 Escort even exist, and you remember that every moment you're either heading toward New Orleans or you're doubling back to Biloxi. Every thought is a step in one direction or the other. Thoughts that take you back to Biloxi are good jobs and hot dates that are not available, or the ever more popular good jobs and hot dates are available, but not for the likes of me. Thoughts that move you towards New Orleans go something like this. That new job is going to be amazing. And man, is this person sitting next to me on my couch ever so fine. The more energy and excitement you invest, the quicker you'll get there. Some people get stirred up, take a few steps toward their desires, panic, and turn right back towards Biloxi. Others leave the Biloxi city limits, walk for a while, take a rest, look around, and then get pissed off because it doesn't look like New Orleans. Of course it doesn't look like New Orleans. You're not there yet. You're still seeing countryside that's just outside Biloxi. Stuff you're going to have to pass through to get to New Orleans. But you've left Biloxi. Say a cheer and keep focusing. Whatever you do, don't stop walking. Don't stop walking. Say a cheer for yourself. The only way to reach the sweet champagne-drenched finish line of where you want to be is to keep your nose pointed in that direction. Do not turn around and look back. Biloxi is history. Stay focused on. Did I mention New Orleans? At first, you'll feel glorious about this new heroic endeavor. You'll be astounded and astonished by how easy it is for you to stay focused on the beautiful city of New Orleans. You'll be laughing and skipping and enjoying the vistas. But inevitably, the menacing distractions will crop up. Your thoughts will get sore, you'll get bored with a new routine, and they'll want to head back towards Biloxi. You know, just for a quick visit, just for one cup of tea. You start spending less and less time on New Orleans and more time on why the whole endeavor is futile. Maybe you should put it out of its misery before it's old enough to even remember where you live. But don't do that. Just keep walking. Keep focusing on New Orleans. At risk of appearing anal, I want to make it clear that a Biloxi, New Orleans example is only a metaphor. The last thing I'd ever want to do is offend Biloxi, which happens to be a really cool town with a nearly new Frank Gehry designed or O'Keeffe Museum of Art. The big thing to remember is there's no real physical work involved. It's all training your mind, that incorrigible slacker. It sounds like pie in the sky, I know, but I've seen it happen time and again. Getting to New Orleans doesn't take any particular gift. It just takes a willingness to keep walking and focusing your attention, energy, and awareness. I always think of the magician pulling a scarf through a hole. If you can just grab hold of a tiny end, you can pull it all the way through. That's all it takes. One itty bitty end. Decide what you want and keep focusing on it until you've pulled it all the way through. You can manifest pretty much anything. So Martin Guitars, one of her friends manifested a guitar, and he didn't do anything at all. He just kept believing, focusing on that guitar, that one day he'd have it. Nearly a year later, he got a message from his mom. Your dad just picked up an old guitar at a garage sale for $5. It can be a toy for Daisy. Well, that toy for Don's daughter Daisy was a rare 1943 Martin 000-28, one of only 100 made. The same guitar Eric Clapton plays, worth somewhere in the neighborhood of $20,000. It seems Daisy will have to wait and inherit the guitar in Don's will. And also, guys, a friend of mine, her daughter went to like Salvation Army or some thrift store and got one of those Canada Goose jackets. They've got the patch on the side. She got it there for $15. You know how much that jacket is worth? I mean, this is true. She just told me the other day. That jacket is worth near $1,000. And timing, who knew what happened? Same as this guitar thing. I mean, it is out there, guys. Keep our eyes and ears open. So lining up your ducks, or what coherence is. Great Spirit is everywhere. It is not necessary to speak to him in a loud voice. He hears whatever is in our minds and hearts. Black Elk, Lakota Medicine Man. Most people think they can incite change only by addressing God with some screech for help. But since we know God is the force field that runs the universe, we also know every thought incites change. Every time we think of anything, be it a silent, that skirt makes her look like John Travolta in Hairspray, or I'll commit excuse me, I'll commit Harry Carey if I don't get that raise. We influence the field of infinite possibility. I think I should probably repeat that every single thought affects the FP. The only reason we don't change water into wine or heal cancer with one touch is because our thoughts are scattered all over the place instead of being one constant, well-aimed tuning fork. Our thoughts are more like a junior high band of beginning trumpet players. On one hand, we pray for things to work out, but on the other hand, we worry that they won't. At the same time, we imagine a positive outcome, we secretly think optimism is a bunch of baloney. We want to make money, but didn't the Bible say something about camels and rich people in an eye of a needle? The force is literally bouncing off the walls. Go this way. No, wait, go that way. It's knocking around like a lightning bug in a mason jar. It's being dissipated because we have no clear bead on what we want. So let's focus on what we want, right? Newton's first law of prayer. By choosing your thoughts and by selecting which emotional currents you will release and which you will reinforce, you determine the effects that you will have upon others and the nature of the experiences of your life. Gary Zukav, author of Seat of the Soul. And just like you saw how your energy was affecting the coat hanger from experiment number 2, hashtag E2, hashtag experiment 3, you see how your energy affects everybody around you. So shoot out at the okay, you're okay corral, or how your mind works. I'm crowded inside. Pradeep Venugopal, Indian blogger. Your mind is engaged in an ongoing showdown between different conflicting parts of yourself. These splintered intentions, if you will, set off all sorts of dynamics into motion. Let's say you have a conscious intention to buy a new house. At the same time, you set the intention in motion, you simultaneously send out an unconscious but equally potent fear of a higher mortgage payment. The dynamic of opposing intentions can produce confusion and doubt. As you become more open to new perceptions and desires and simultaneously experience fear and anguish, we set up struggle. Your thoughts are extremely powerful, but the FP doesn't respond only to your pleas. Let me repeat. It responds to every thought, conscious and unconscious, with opposing sides battling it out. Here are the 4 of the most common battlefields. The rut. We humans have this annoying tendency to fall into habitual patterns. Remember those 60,000 daily thoughts I mentioned earlier? Well, all but about 1,000 of those thoughts are the exact same thoughts you thought yesterday. Scientists tell us that 98% of our 60,000 thoughts are repeats from the day before. My neighbor has an invisible fence. You can't see it, but her Jack Russell Terrier, if her Jack Russell Terrier dares set foot outside that fence, he gets a painful shock. All of us are like that little Jack Russell Terrier, stuck in our invisible fences. 2, the ad men's copy. US advertisers spend more than $400 billion every year trying to convince us that without their products, you are complete and total loser. The ad shill's entire reason for being is to make you and me dissatisfied with what we have and who we are. The average American sees between 1,500 and 3,000 commercials every day. Not even TV watchers are constantly being invited to consume. Everything from ATM monitors to dry cleaning bags to stickers on supermarket fruit has been known to feature ads. Stephen Pressfield's best-selling author of the book, The Legend of Badger Vance and other books, says his former ad agency instructed him to invent a disease because then we can sell the hell out of a cure. Other people's heads, number 3. Like radio waves that fly around in the atmosphere, other people's thoughts constantly bombard you. You constantly pick up the thoughts of your family, your culture, your religion, and then you practice it. I once met a guy who invented dozens of products, including many that you and I use on a daily basis. He was regularly dubbed a genius. But if you gave him the No Child Left Behind test, he'd have been sent back to first grade. The guy never learned to read. And he said that was intentional. If I learned to read, he said, I'd pick up other people's ideas and cement those in my head. I chose not to bother with the interference. This is probably the place where I should mention I'm not advocating illiteracy, just making the point that the less interference from crazy thought-filled world, the better your access to FP. Your own head. Number 4, despite what you may be thinking, it's quite likely that an even bigger thought is getting in the way. Unfortunately, all of us have an underlying soundtrack that sounds something like this. There's something wrong with me. I'm not good enough. I have no talent. I don't deserve it. I can't do it. It's so hard. So she tells about sending off her book to get published. And she got a lot of rejection letters. She could have papered her wall. And then she read a book called Write for Your Life by Lawrence Block. In the early 80s, when Block's column for Writers Digest was at the height of its popularity, he and his wife Lynn decided to throw a series of seminars for writer wannabes. Unlike most writing seminars where you learn to write plot treatments or compose strategies to get an agent, Block's seminar dealt with the only thing that really matters when it comes to being a writer: getting out of your own way and getting rid of the countless negative thoughts that you tell yourself. What a hopelessly uninteresting specimen of humanity you are. People confess their greatest fears. They were a huge success. But Block, who was a writer, not a seminar giver, eventually tired of trotting around the country, staging the events. But the book is a good one. And so the suggestion is, if you want to be a writer, write affirmation reminders. You, Pam, are a great writer. Put your name in there. You, Pam, have what it takes to sell to New York editors. You, Pam, are interesting and people want to hear what you have to say. If you want to be a speaker or anything, you can use these too. So quacking in unison. What is happening? When she started doing that, she started getting all sorts of invitations to write for magazines. But quacking in unison. The main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing. T-shirt seen in Hawaii. Filmmaker Michael Moore in a commencement speech gave the following advice. All you boys should learn that once you give up on that girl, she will come to you. In some ways, your intentions work the same way. By believing we desperately need a miracle or something we don't have right now, we deny the truth. We suit up with the wrong attitude. Anytime we look for an answer, we make the false assumption that the answer isn't already here. Intending love or happiness or some other desired goal defeats the whole purpose. It assumes the outcome of life is still in doubt. It's not. Praying is not a matter of bribing God. It's simply understanding the higher laws that override the lower law of the physical plane. To plead or beg or act like it's not here is to suppose duality, not unity. And unity is what we're aiming for. You have to live under the assumption that your intention has already happened. You have to feel as if it has already come to pass to get all those ducks lined up, to get all those waves in a laser coherence. Anecdotal evidence. A ship in port is safe, but that is not what ships are built for. Benazir Bhutto, former Prime Minister of Pakistan. When he was 34, Augustine Burroughs decided to stop being an alcoholic and become a New York Times best-selling author. As he says in his memoir, Magical Thinking, the gap between active alcoholic copywriter living in squalor and literary sensation with a scrapbook of rave reviews seemed large, a virtual canyon. Yet one day, I decided that's exactly what I would do. 14 days later, he finished his first manuscript. a novel called Television. I did not expect it to be a bestseller. It was the cheese popcorn book. What did I expect? What I did expect was that it would be published, he said. And then he wrote a memoir about his childhood. And this, I decided, needed to be a New York Times bestseller, high on the list. It needed to be translated into a dozen languages and optioned for a film, he writes. His agent suggested he tone down his ambitions. I understood his point of view, Augustine explains. I also understood that the book would be huge, not because it was exceptionally well written, but because it had to be a bestseller, so I could quit my loathsome advertising job and write full-time. Augustine's memoir, Running with Scissors, you guys need to, it would be a good one to check out. Spent over 70 consecutive weeks on the New York Times bestseller list. At last count, it had been published in over 15 countries and has been made into a film starring the incomparable Annette Bening. Luck? The greedy wishes of a desperate man randomly filled? Says Augustine. No, there are no accidents. Pray, who, me? It's bigger than both of us, Ollie. Stan Laurel, English comic actor. People say, I don't pray. It's a waste of time. It's like believing in Santa Claus. And just think about how you think about prayer. And so she goes over a couple of things like start your engines. And even though this guy, Al Unser, the famous Indianapolis race car driver, was older and was not expected to win. In fact, his team had taken him off. He had to basically start all over for this race. He was unceremoniously dumped in 1987, even though he'd won the Indy 500 3 times before. And so he entered the race, was stuck back in 20th position, but that didn't faze him. In every fiber of his being, he saw himself winning. He expected nothing but victory. Finally, on the 183rd lap, he worked his way up the field, crossing the line for his 4th Indianapolis 500 title. Al Unser never had a chance. Every single thought prayed for victory. The method. We are powerfully imprisoned by the terms in which we have conducted to think. Buckminster Fuller, American inventor and futurist. In this experiment, using nothing but the power of your thoughts, you will magnetize something into your life. You will set an intention to draw a particular event or thing into your life. Be specific, down to that exact make and model, that exact number of commas and dots with zeros and multiple numbers in front, right? Be specific, be clear. And since you've only got 48 hours, it's probably best to pick something that won't drive your thoughts back to Biloxi. For example, if you decide to manifest a BMW Z3 2.8 Roadster, it's quite possible your predominant thoughts will be, yeah, right, eat my shorts. Needless to say, the thoughts like that will take you all the way back, won't take you to New Orleans. It'll take you back to Biloxi. So be really specific, because my friend Chuck tried this experiment and he decided to be a wise ass. He wanted to sleep with 2 girls at one time. Sure enough, by the end of his 48 hours, he met a new woman whom he now dates and ended up in bed with her and her 6-year-old daughter, who crawled in for a quick snuggle with her mom. That's why it's important to be specific and realize that the FP has a sense of humor. Okay, so lab report. Sorry, we're going to run just a tad long for what I like. I aim for a half hour, but this one was so good. Lab report sheet, the principle, the abracadabra principle, the theory. Whatever you focus on expands. The question, can I pull things out of thin air by simply thinking about them? The hypothesis, by making the following intention and focusing on its outcome, I can draw it into my life. My intention, and then there's a place for you to write your intention. Time required, 48 hours. The approach, I have scanned over the big catalog called the world, and for the sake of this experiment, I have decided that this is what I intend to manifest in the next 48 hours. I will focus on it with all my being, and I will remember what Abraham Hicks likes to say. It's as easy to manifest a castle as a button. Today's date, the time, deadline for the manifestation, 48 hours. So put that time and date, 48 hours in the future. And then there's a space, research notes. What has been going on? What have you been experiencing? What showed up? A great many people are thinking when they are, A great many people think they are thinking when they are merely rearranging their prejudices. Good one. American psychologist and philosopher, William James. Oh my gosh, you guys, let's think about what we want to manifest. Oh, my savvy travelers, this is what we've been waiting for, right? This is what we've been waiting for. What do you really, really want? Maybe you want your car repaired and it's only, you're going to get some special deal that is like mind-blowingly reasonable, right? Or maybe you want one of those new heavy winter coats because it's kind of chilly. And you want to find it at a consignment shop or a thrift store. So pick it out, write it down, put it in the chat so that we all can feel it together, so we can manifest what we want right here, right now. 48 hours, guys. Can't wait to hear what you do. And I'll see you live on Monday. All right, so keep tuned, keep me posted. You've got this, we've got this. Let's go out and decide what we want. Goodbye, goodbye, my savvy travelers. Until next time.